One major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and her attitude towards South Park Studios and Paramount after learning about what they are planning for their upcoming special called the DEI Special.
The last time I had the dream, I was walking down the school hallway. And that's when I start to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every character with someone who is diverse?
The role that Rachel Zegler played in the 2025 Snow White adaptation has been the subject of constant dispute. Disney's most recent attempt to reimagine a famous tale, Turmoil, piqued the interest of contemporary audiences.
Exactly what they're doing, and that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
Specifically, her alleged argument with co-star Gal Gadot. However, everything took a sudden turn for the worse when an caricature of Rachel herself appeared on the animated series. The brief satire swiftly went viral, and within hours, rumors circulated that Rachel Zegler was furious about the portrayal, believing it was adding a new level of mockery to an already difficult situation. Within Disney, Netflix, and general concerns about how recent Marvel entries were doing, the idea that Snow White was now the target of satirical jabs by a popular animated comedy added to pre-existing fears.
Now active involves more to do with both South Park Studios and Paramount and what they recently did toward both Zegler and the Disney company for their Snow White film. It turns out that both Trey Parker and Matt Stone are already preparing for the DEI special that is set to serve as a sequel to Panderverse.
The makers of South Park were no strangers to controversy. They had previously used scathing comedy to make fun of pop culture icons and celebrities, frequently leaving the targets in shock. This time, the satirical Rachel Zegler was depicted criticizing everyone in her immediate vicinity, making extravagant claims about the 1937 movie, and declaring that the new production was about rescuing society, all the while disregarding the views of her co-stars and the fictional Disney executives in the plot.
Snow White is the first American feature-length animated movie, 1937. It's one of the beloved movies of all time.
The internet exploded as soon as the spoof aired. Memes spread quickly. Fans analyzed every humorous remark, and rumors flew about whether Disney executives would officially respond. Social media users viewed the videos, pointing out similarities to actual interviews Rachel Zegler had done and commenting on how strange the comedic exaggeration appeared, especially the made-up outbursts that took place when the Snow White character realized she was taking all the attention away from the evil queen.
Even if everything worked perfectly, it would have been almost impossible for this movie to succeed because you're comparing it to one of the most beloved films of all time, a truly groundbreaking movie.
South Park's humorous perspective drew several people into the Snow White dispute who had just heard about it in passing. In the immediate aftermath, comparisons to Bob Iger's leadership and Disney's wider problems were common, as were the hashtags #Rachel Zegler and #Snow White fiasco. According to industry sources, Rachel Zegler felt caught off guard by this parody, which made her privately angry. According to people close to her camp, that's what she thought.
Our rights are on the line, folks.
Bitch! The right to buy Cosby sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face of a serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
It was suggested that she thought about making a statement explaining her true position on the 1937 classic, but Disney allegedly pressured her to keep quiet, fearing that any additional statements would only fuel the flames. The cruel and unfair comedy portraying her as an unhinged diva who hated the original Snow White came amid a previous corporate strategy to minimize her appearances on major talk shows and events, which had already caused tension between Rachel and Disney leadership. In the weeks leading up to the South Park mockery, Disney abruptly canceled a number of Rachel Zegler's talk show invitations and promotional segments. Statements officially blamed unanticipated changes or schedule issues, but multiple sources maintained that the company's desire to stop more divisive comments was the true driving force. Some fans who loved the original Snow White had already been disenchanted with the celebrity because of her previous comments in which she discussed changing the Snow White mythology.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
White! He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was trending on Twitter for days because all the people were angry.
The feeling that something was seriously wrong with this production was heightened by rumors of conflict between her and Gal Gadot, which were stoked by an awkward appearance at the awards ceremony in which the two avoided making eye contact. Disney execs were reported to be in a panic behind closed doors. Their previously successful approach of reimagining old favorites appeared to be backfiring, leading to contentious internal discussions regarding how to deal with Rachel Zegler's outspoken demeanor. According to some, efforts to breathe new life into the 1937 movie were handled too forcefully, displacing beloved plot points in favor of messages that ran the risk of losing the original magic. Others warned that the reimagined story should appropriately reflect a more modern outlook, as modern audiences demanded current values.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote Snow White.
That laugh.
That is
not going to be.
Yeah,
you wrote it?
She's not going to be the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
7. However, no agreement was reached, and the breakdown only became more widely known. Enter South Park's unexpected spotlight. The play thrust the debate into the spotlight of popular culture by making fun of the entire experience, especially Rachel's widely circulated comment that the original movie was outdated and unrepresentative of contemporary tastes. There was more to the plot for a few days than an actress critiquing a classic or a supposed conflict with her co-star.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who stalks her. Yeah. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
It was about Snow White 2025 being so widely mocked that even a satirical cartoon with a reputation for harsh criticism had joined in. According to critics, this was a major setback for a movie that couldn't afford any more bad press. Social media users expressed annoyance over the course of the next weekend after seeing what they thought were Rachel Zegler's cryptic posts, perhaps alluding subtly to the parody.
It was supposed to come out like a year and a half ago, and then we went after them so hard because of their variety of ridiculous sin that they actually went into full-scale reshoots on Snow White when we announced that we had a competitor.
It was mentioned that genuine discussions on progress can be overshadowed by humorous caricatures. Although humorous, some fans felt that South Park's strategy would unjustly simplify complex conversations to jokes. However, a lot of people thought the event just reflected the frustration of the public over yet another Disney remake that trampled on a treasured classic. Widely differing responses were received, with new memes ridiculing the notion of a white supremacist effort to improve society, as the humorous depiction had suggested. Disney, on the other hand, seems incapable or unwilling to put up a strong fight. A lack of a firm response fueled rumors that the company was in disarray, but executives reportedly feared that responding to South Park's parody would invite more mockery. Historically, any public condemnation from the target only served to boost South Park's comedic brand. Rumor had it that Bob Iger and the board of directors were meeting virtually every day to find ways to keep Snow White 2025 from failing miserably.
That had the kind of Disney magic that had, the depth that had absolute, it was riveting. And it's based, of course, Brothers Grimm story. And this started the movie star, Rachel Zegler, who I believe would be categorized as loudmouth dope.